So I don't know about all of you guys, but I think that personally this is the craziest NFL offseason that we've ever seen. Honestly, even the craziest offseason for any sport that I have ever seen. I mean, when you talk about people that have been traded that you never thought were going to be traded, just an amazing amount of superstars just swapping conferences. I mean, the AFC is as loaded as it's ever been. I mean, this has just been a crazy offseason, which also makes me think that this draft is going to be crazy. This is a really, really deep class. I think every position outside of quarterback, you could argue that there are at least 10 or 12 guys that could be drafted and be high impact players from day one. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. This mock draft, personally, this is the first one I'm doing with trades, so that's why the last one I put out a couple weeks ago was the Draft Network. This one is PFF because I kind of like the layout a little bit better, and not only that, they allow me to make trades and force trades too, because I don't really want to get into the compensation swap. I mean, that's just so hard to predict in general as well. So I just like to force the trade if there are any trades, and just keep the video rolling. So without further ado, let's get started. Number one on the board is the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course. And a lot of people and myself still think that the first pick really is going to be Aiden Hutchinson, but there have been reports that have surfaced over this past week that Trayvon Walker is a name to watch as the number one overall pick. Apparently, the Jaguars are super high on him. Trent Baalk is already working on a big-time extension for Cam Robinson, so that makes me believe that Evan Neal and Ikem Ekwonu are out of the picture as the number one overall pick. So when you hear reports like that teams are super high on people around this time in the draft season, makes me to believe that those rumors are true. So for the sake of being a little bit different, and from the recent reports, I'm going to say that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to take Trayvon Walker as the first pick in the 2022 draft. And then, kind of as a consequence of that, if Aiden Hutchinson was going to be the first player picked, I didn't really know who they were looking at on the board. I mean, a lot of people are saying Malik Willis. A lot of people are saying Kyle Hamilton. Both of those obviously are still on the table. For me personally, I think that if anyone else besides for Aiden Hutchinson is the first overall pick, then Hutchinson falls right to the Detroit Lions. I don't think that they're going to pass up the opportunity to draft Hutchinson at 2 if he's there. Then moving on to the Houston Texans, and it says right here, every position is needed. That's pretty much true. Their offensive line is still in shambles. They just restructured the contract with Laremy Tunsil, so at least that's a building block that you could have on there for years to come as well. That's a very, very solid piece to have on your offensive line. I would like to think that they're going to have to build on that if they want anything, any kind of success. The game of football is still won in the trenches, believe you me. So I think that the choice here at number 3 is going to be Ikem Ekwonu. He's a guy that is really, really versatile. He could kick out to tackle. He's really, really good inside. So I think that versatility will give him that much more above Evan Neal as the first offensive lineman taken off the board. And then moving down to my New York Jets at number 4. I'm going to go with Jermaine Johnson here at number 4. I know that PFF has him a little bit lower, but I really like Jermaine Johnson. I think that his skill set is really intriguing a lot of teams. And not only that, Robert Saleh and his coaching staff got to see Jermaine Johnson for a week during the Senior Bowl and really see what he's got. And he was flattening people throughout the Senior Bowl. So I think that sticks in the front office's mind, and I think that Jermaine Johnson is the pick to make at number 4 for the Jets. Then moving on down to number 5, really, really should be simple here. Evan Neal is still on the board. The Giants need offensive line help desperately. I think Evan Neal is the clear-cut pick, number 5 overall. There shouldn't be much explanation. And then here at pick number 6, a lot of people are saying Malik Willis. A lot of people are saying Charles Cross. Bottom line for me, the Carolina Panthers are looking for help at the quarterback position. And when you're looking for help at the quarterback position, I don't think that just goes away. There's really no options out there in the trade market. Free agency is a bust right now. I think they're going to have to go out and get their man. And what I've been hearing, what I've been reading the past week is they're super, super high on Kenny Pickett. His hands have grown a little bit since his measurement at the combine, I guess. But they're super high on Kenny Pickett. I like Pickett as well. He's got a really, really good arm. He's good on the run, and he's very accurate as well. I think that would be a fine pick at number 6 for the Carolina Panthers. You have another year of Sam Darnold. You're not going to be able to trade him. You're going to have to pay him $25 million regardless. if you want to start him at the beginning of the year and let Kenny Pickett sit and learn the playbook, that's fine, because by game 4 or 5, he's probably going to be in there anyway. So I think Pickett is a good pick to make. Then moving on to number 7, with Kayvon Thibodeau still on the board, this could be an easy pick for some people. For me, a new regime, Brian Daboll, and the new GM, I think that they're going to need a secondary piece that is crazy versatile, that is super athletic, and is going to make impact plays all along the field. And for me, I think that guy is Kyle Hamilton. I'm not high. I mean, I'm a Jets fan, so you know my whole Jamal Adams thing. I'm not super high on taking safeties within the top 10 picks, but Kyle Hamilton is a 6'4", 225-pound guy that could play linebacker in sub packages as well. You could put him all over the field. And Xavier McKinney needs a partner as well in the back end of that secondary. So I think Kyle Hamilton is an impact defensive player that you could plug in from day one, and he's going to make things happen. I think that would be a great pick. Either or, if Thibodeau was still on the board, it would make a lot of sense. But I think Kyle Hamilton and his versatility just make too much sense for me to pass up for the New York Giants. Then you move on to number 8, and this might rub some Falcons fans the wrong way, especially with Malik Willis still on the board and Garrett Wilson still on the board. I think the Atlanta Falcons trade out of this spot. And the reason why is I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are super high on Malik Willis. And then the next pick after that is the Seattle Seahawks, who could either go offensive line, they could go edge, or they can go quarterback. So I don't think that Pittsburgh passes up the opportunity to trade up and get Malik Willis. So I'm going to make this trade real quick. So now with the new number 8 overall pick, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers here, and I have them taking Malik Willis. I don't think that having Mason Rudolph on the roster and signing Mitch Trubisky to a minor deal deters the Pittsburgh Steelers from taking their man if they want it. They haven't been shy about liking players in the past. I mean, Najee Harris there. They loved him from the start. They let everyone know that they were going to take him, and they did take him. So, and I think Atlanta is a prime candidate to trade back because they're in that awkward stage where you could also argue that they could they could pick Malik Willis at number 8 because they need a quarterback as well. Marcus Mariota is more of a bridge guy, but they just have way, way too many holes on their roster. I mean, their offensive line, it's not in shambles, but it really needs some help. Their secondary is getting better. You have Casey Hayward and AJ Terrell. Safeties, there's just no one there. I mean, the pass rush is really lacking as well. There's just too many holes right now. I think you trade down to number 20, get some more compensation, and then build your team through the draft. And then here with their number 1 quarterback off the board and Kayvon Thibodeau still on there, the Seattle Seahawks need some pass rushing help, and he is the best pass rusher that is left on the board. He has a slight fall. I know a lot of people have him going to the Jets at number 4, some people to the Giants at number 7, but I think that he falls in a really good situation in Seattle. Seattle hasn't really been that great at selecting pass rushers in the past. You think of LJ Collier, guys like that. But I think that Kayvon Thibodeau is the real deal. His off-the-field concerns, I think, are being magnified. I don't think they're as bad as people think they are. Not only that, Micah Parsons was a guy last year that had off-the-field concerns, and then he slipped a little bit to the Dallas Cowboys, and look at the season that he turned in. So I think that Thibodeau falls in a really good situation here in Seattle. Then you move on to number 10, and this is where I think the Jets are in prime position to trade down in the first round. Now, there's 2 things that I think. I think that the Jets, this is maybe one source, maybe from the Philadelphia Eagles side of it. I don't think the Eagles are going to be picking 3 times in the first round, and I don't think the Jets are going to be picking twice in the first round. I think they're going to be picking at least 3 times in the first round because they know that they need to acquire talent to at least be a shred competitive in the AFC East this year. So what I'm going to say is that Ahmad Gardner is a guy that the Philadelphia Eagles are really, really high on. He falls to number 10, where a lot of people think that he could even be picked number 4 by the Jets. So I think if he gets past number 4, I think it's a real opportunity for a bunch of teams that are high on Gardner that are a little bit lower in the draft that can get him. So obviously we know on the other side of Darius Slay, the Philadelphia Eagles are really lacking another cornerback presence. I think that they use 2 of their first round picks to move up to trade with the New York Jets. I feel like Cincinnati. I feel like Philadelphia is just such a good fit, and I think the fact that he won't have to go up against number one wide receivers right away in his career is also crucial because they have Darius Slay on that other side, and I think that that makes their secondary one of the most formidable in the NFC at least. So I think that Ahmad Gardner makes a lot of sense for the Eagles at number 10. Moving on to number 11, the Washington Commanders now have Carson Wentz. How long is he going to be there? They have Terry McLaurin, who has been, I think, in his like 3 or 4 years in the league, he's had like 5 or 6 different starting quarterbacks, and he has been consistent. And I think that the first wide receiver that should be taken off the board in this draft is Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson makes a lot of sense lining up on the opposite side of Terry McLaurin. So I think if the Washington Commanders can get Garrett Wilson, pair him with Terry McLaurin, and give Carson Wentz more opportunities to succeed, I think that that will help them greatly. And then moving on to number 12, you have the Minnesota Vikings, who desperately need secondary help. Derek Stingley Jr. is still there on the board. He is sliding, and I think that it's an absolutely perfect fit. I know that you can go with some offensive line help here as well. I get that. You can go with an edge rusher, possibly. I don't really know because as of right now, at the time of recording, Danielle Hunter is still on the roster. They just signed Zadarius Smith. I doubt that they would go with an edge rusher here at number 12, and you get a premium cornerback prospect right here. So I think Stingley makes a lot of sense as well. Then you move on to the Houston Texans, who just got a dog in the trenches on the offensive side. And then I think that they're going to go for a dog, literally a dog, on the defensive side in Jordan Davis. He plugs up so much space in the middle of that defensive line that was getting the crap kicked out of them the entire season, especially running the football. It was like Swiss cheese. So I think that Davis not only fills a lot of space, fills a big need for the Houston Texans. It's going to be a while before the Houston Texans are relevant again, but pieces like Akeem Ekwonu, pieces like Jordan Davis can only help the cause that much more and help them get back to relevancy that much faster. So I think Davis is a good pick here at 13. And then at 14, there's really two ways that I'm thinking about this that with the current board on there only really makes sense to me. And that would be either Bradley Bozeman's replacement in Tyler Linderbaum here at number 14, or you go elite secondary talent. And I think that you go elite secondary talent here because the Baltimore Ravens offensive line isn't bad, but it's necessarily not great either. They also could go tackle. You could see Trevor Penning. Charles Cross is also on the board, but I think that Trent McDuffie is a really good pick. Like I said before, with Ahmad Gardner, I'll say it again with Baltimore. They have Marlon Humphrey on one side, and you saw what happened to their secondary after Marlon Humphrey and everyone got injured last year. It was an absolute disaster. They were giving up like 500 passing yards a game. So I think getting deeper at the position and having that elite talent is just too much to pass up at number 14 for the Baltimore Ravens. So there you go, Trent McDuffie. And then number 15, the Philadelphia Eagles signed Hassan Reddick, which at the time I thought was a fantastic signing, but he's not an edge rusher. He's more of an outside linebacker. They play with a 4-3. I don't really understand what Hassan Reddick is going to be doing for the Philadelphia Eagles. If anyone that's watching this is a Philadelphia Eagles fan and you guys know what they're going to do, please let me know. I'm actually interested. Like, I'm genuinely asking. I don't really know. Like, I love the signing because Hassan Reddick is a super underrated player and they got him for a decent price of $15 million a year. I just don't know how well he fits in that defense. So I think that an edge rusher is still needed. And with George Karlaftis on the board, I think it makes a lot of sense. They get so much better defensively with 2 picks. They traded up to get Sauce Gardner, who is a legitimate number 1 cornerback. And then you get an edge rusher as Karlaftis, who's as technical as they come in this class off the edge. I think that's great. A great combination of 2 players that could immediately make their defense that much better. And then you move on to the Jets again, who are picking with their second of 3 now first-round picks. Corey Davis has proven to us last year that he is not a number 1 wide receiver. You need to go out and get your number 1 wide receiver. And I think that Drake London is that guy. I wasn't super high on him. I'm still not really that high on him. If the Jets stay at number 10 and take Drake London with Garrett Wilson still on the board in the real draft, I'll have a problem with that. But with Garrett Wilson off the board, there's really no one else I think that can make an impact in the Jets offensive system like Drake London can. I think that you go out, you get Zach Wilson's number 1 target. So there you go. You got Drake London. They could go wide receiver here. Chris Olave is still on the board. Jameson Williams is still on the board. You got a lot of good young wide receivers that could be number ones down the line on the board still. But I think that they're going to work with what they got. You still got Keenan Allen, who's playing at an elite level. They just signed Mike Williams to a 3-year, $60 million deal. They signed Gerald Everett. So I think that they are working with plenty right now. I think that if you shore up the middle of that defensive line, I think that would go a long way because they weren't great in run defense last year, as you all know. So I think that Devontae Wyatt makes a lot of sense here at number 17. But I think that Devontae Wyatt, his teammate, is not far behind him at all. I think that he would be a really good fit for the LA Chargers. So you got Devontae Wyatt right there. And then moving down to number 18, you have the New Orleans Saints. And the New Orleans Saints just signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year extension. So for me, quarterback out of the picture. I don't know what they're doing with the quarterback position. They just signed Trevor Siemian. They re-signed Jameis Winston. They're giving all that money, but not really that much money to Taysom Hill. I'm really kind of confused. I think that they just need to let this play out at least this year. Stick with what you got. Don't draft someone. They have so many needs, especially on the offensive line. Charles Cross sitting here at number 18 makes too much sense. They just let Teron Armstead walk. You need a new franchise tackle, and Charles Cross absolutely is that guy. He is the best pass protector in this draft. There is no question about it. Look up the numbers. He didn't let up a sack in like 700 something snaps in the SEC, mind you. So Charles Cross is a perfect fit for the New Orleans Saints at number 18. And then you move on to the New York Jets again at 19. This might be an unpopular pick because obviously I haven't taken a cornerback yet. But if you're like me and you know your team, the New York Jets, Robert Saleh likes to develop later round cornerbacks. And they just signed DJ Reed, who can be their number one guy. Bryce Hall is still good. Brendan Eccles is pretty good. Jason Pinnock flashed a little bit as well. I think that getting a center that is your franchise guy for the next 10 years is essential because that offensive line is good. Don't get me wrong. Right now, as it stands, healthy. You have Mekhi Becton at left tackle. I think that they're going to move Elijah Vera Tucker over to the right side. So you have Laken Tomlinson at left guard. Right now, you have Conor McGovern, who's making $9 million in the center. I'm not really liking that. He did have a good year last year. $9 million for one more year of McGovern. To me, cut him. He's out. Then you got AVT on that side, and you have George Fant. So a pretty formidable. But I think if the Jets are smart, they don't pay Conor McGovern $9 million for his last year. They get rid of him or they trade him, whatever it may be, and then they take Tyler Linderbaum here at number 19. That solidifies the center position. He's another Nick Mangold, in my opinion. I know a lot, like, I'm sure when the Jets took DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold in the same draft in the first round, people were like, what the hell is going on here? But I think that Tyler Linderbaum is that guy that can be a Nick Mangold type player, especially for the New York Jets, because Nick Mangold played for the Jets. But you know what I mean. I think Linderbaum is a fantastic player, and I think it's a fantastic fit. And you also save some money as well. So that offensive line is pretty much good to go. And then right here, you have the Atlanta Falcons who are picking at number 20 instead of number 8. If it's me at number 20, this man is sitting here at number 20. I'm taking him. Jameson Williams makes a lot of sense. You don't have a number one wide receiver. Your number one wide receiver right now as an Atlanta Falcon is a tight end in Kyle Pitts. You go out and get that number one wide receiver. And Jameson Williams, even coming off of an ACL injury, is well worth the risk at number 20. I think that he's going to be a fabulous NFL player. He was sparkling all over the field last year. He was great 2 years ago as well. Jameson Williams is the pick to make if the Atlanta Falcons pick at number 20, and he is there. And then at 21, you have the New England Patriots who can go a lot of ways. So, they're lacking cornerback depth. They're lacking linebacking depth. Edge rusher's not really a concern for me because they always make the most of what they have. I mean, Lawrence Guy has been on that team for how long, and he's not that great, but he still gets the job done. So I think that wide receiver is the main focus here. You got to get out. You got to get a number one wide receiver for Mac Jones. And Chris Olave is still here. And Chris Olave should be the pick if he's still here at number 21. Easily slots in as the number one wide receiver and Mac Jones' new favorite target. I don't think that you go wide receiver at number 22 here. I think in their later pick at 28, it makes a lot of sense to take a wide receiver. You got two really good tackles that are still on the board right here in Bernard Raymond and Trevor Penning. And I like Trevor Penning a lot here. I think that Bakhtiari, who is going to play left tackle. And then you have Elton Jenkins, who can kick out and play right tackle. But for me, I'd rather keep him on the interior. So if you take Trevor Penning here with the 22nd overall pick, it really makes the offensive line that much better. So then you have three players that could stay really, really solid in their positions. I like Penning a lot. I think that obviously keeping Aaron Rodgers upright and healthy is the number one priority, regardless of the fact that he doesn't have anyone to throw to right now. Obviously they traded away Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdez-Scantling left for KC. He doesn't have much to throw to right now. He's got Allen Lazard, and that's pretty much it. So, and Robert Tonyan. But I still think that keeping him upright and solidifying that offensive line should be key, because we've seen it in the past that Aaron Rodgers could throw to anyone and can make them a superstar wide receiver. So I don't really think wide receivers should be a number one concern at number 22. And then at 23 here, you have the Arizona Cardinals. I like Andrew Booth Jr. here for the Arizona Cardinals because their cornerback depth is really, really not looking too great right now. Byron Murphy is a number one cornerback, but he could be even better if he has someone on the opposite side of the field who's doing that work as well. So Andrew Booth is a guy that I like a lot. It solidifies a big problem for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's a solid player for sure. So then moving down to 24, and you never really know what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do, honestly. At one moment you think they're going to take an offensive lineman, then linebacker, then wide receiver, safety. I honestly don't know from day to day what they're going to do. Right now, with the players that are on my board, I think that it's clear to me that Devin Lloyd should be the pick. I think that Devin Lloyd, it's close between Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean, but I think Devin Lloyd is the number one linebacker in this class, and he's still there at number 24. I think it's a no-brainer. I think that the Dallas Cowboys like to draft, regardless of need, they like to draft for the best player that's available on the board. I mean, you look at it a couple years ago with CeeDee Lamb. You look at it last year with Micah Parsons as well. I mean, those both just so happened to fit a need, but they were still the best players that were left on the draft. And I think that best players left on the board, And I think that Devin Lloyd, for the needs that they have, is the best player on the board for them. So I think that makes a lot of sense right there. And besides for Tre'Davious White, coming off of an injury, mind you, they don't really have too much behind him. So I like Kaiir Elam here. I know that he didn't really test well at the combine, but the combine doesn't mean everything. Look at, for instance, let's take Orlando Brown, for instance, who ran like the slowest 40-yard dash of all time and put up terrible numbers at the combine. He's a Pro Bowl left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's call it like it is. I like to look at the tape more, and Kaiir Elam's tape is really, really nice. SEC pedigree, so that always is a notch above everyone else, that he's gone up against the cream of the crop when it comes to talent. I think Elam is nice here. I think that the fact that he doesn't have to play number one cornerback, and he could just kind of go in there. He's got good size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Nice size, good speed. I like it a lot. I like him on the opposite side of the field from Tre'Davious White. I don't really know why tackle isn't listed as a need for the Tennessee Titans. Not really liking the right tackle position there, and there is a player that can be a starter from day one at right tackle. So, a lot of people were telling me that Bernhard Raimann is a project of a left tackle, and that is 100% true. But there's no reason why he can't start from day one at right tackle. He's got the size, he's got the ability, and he has the raw potential. I like Bernhard Raimann right here at number 26 for the Tennessee Titans. It still would have been a wide receiver for me, honestly, or a tight end if they didn't sign Robert Woods. But having A.J. Brown and Robert Woods right now, they are good with what they have. And they still run the football a lot, so you need to prioritize the offensive line first. That's just my opinion. And then at number 27, there's really only one hole that I see that can be filled at number 27 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's guard position. They need a starting guard. They traded for Shaq Mason to play right guard. Left guard is a hole, but I have a perfect player right here that could fill that easily. That is Zion Johnson. He is the most technically sound interior offensive lineman in this entire draft. He's one of those guys that I believe, if you just watched the video that I put out yesterday, which just so happened to be the full 7-round mock draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that basically explains the pick. I don't have to explain it again, but I think Johnson is a plug-and-play starter from day one for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then you move down to number 28, and you have the Green Bay Packers yet again. And here is where I like taking a wide receiver because Treylon Burks is still on the board. and you need a number one wide receiver. That's basically what it comes down to. And there's a lot of people saying Treylon Burks' route tree isn't that great. He's not great off the line. Doesn't matter. He has Aaron Rodgers that's throwing to him. Aaron Rodgers can throw him open if he's not open. Treylon Burks has the body control, the hands, the size, the necessary speed to be a number one wide receiver in the NFL. And that's exactly what he could be with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football. So number 29 here was tough for me. Do you go wide receiver? I really don't think that the Kansas City Chiefs go wide receiver. I think that, they still have Mecole Hardman. They have Juju Smith-Schuster, and they have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I don't think that they need to go wide receiver in round one. I think there is more pressing issues for the Chiefs at number 29 and number 30. And the first for me is the middle linebacker position. Really, really lacking. They have Jermaine Carter listed as their only middle linebacker right now on the roster. And Nakobe Dean is sitting right here, who was an absolute dog for the Georgia Bulldogs, no pun intended. He is a playmaker in the middle of the defense. I think that he could slot right into that middle linebacker position and do some work and be the leading tackler of the Kansas City Chiefs from the get-go. So I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean here. They lost Travarius Ward, and besides for L'Jarius Sneed, they have a couple good depth pieces, but they really need another guy that can go out there and start. And once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the SEC pedigree just proves a lot for me. And I like Roger McCreary here. I know that he's slid down the board in recent weeks. I can't really find a reason why. His tape is really, really clean, and he's one of the cornerbacks that I really, really like in this draft. I think that he's a perfect find at the back end of the first round. You're not going to get better value than Roger McCreary, who could step in and be your number 2 cornerback on the opposite side of L'Jarius Sneed from day one. I like the value a lot here. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, back-to-back defensive picks. Wow, you just lost Tyreek Hill, but easily replaceable. Tyreek Hill was a 5th round pick. So you could find someone like Tyreek Hill in the 5th round. And like I said before, it also depends on who's throwing you the football. Patrick Mahomes is one of the best throwers of the football in the NFL, if not the best thrower of the football in the NFL. He can throw guys open. He makes guys. The guys don't make him, in my opinion. So we're going to go with Roger McCreary here. And then I'm going to end the first round with a couple of trades. So right now, this is clear to me that even with Kenyon Green still on the board, I still think that the Bengals trade down and acquire maybe another pick or two. I can't really find another hole that warrants a first-round pick for the Bengals. Opposite of Awuzie, they have Eli Apple, so obviously you need another cornerback. There's no doubt about that you need another cornerback. But then again, I'm not really liking any of the other cornerbacks that are left on the board at this point in the first round. There are guys that you can go out right here. Martin Emerson, Marcus Jones, Kyler Gordon. Those are guys that you can get out in the second round if necessary. I like the Bengals trading back and getting another pick or two. And there's a team that I really think should trade back into the first round given what they've done in this offseason, or what the lack of what they've done in this offseason, and that is the Chicago Bears. And with the Bears at 31, I don't think that they waste any time in finding Justin Fields, that number 1 wide receiver. And I'm going to go with George Pickens. I really, really like Pickens. I think that he has number 1 wide receiver potential. He's fantastic. He's got good size. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He could run fast as well. I think he ran like a 4.45 or something like that, and he was like the 20th best wide receiver. So he's got the speed, he's got the hands, he's got the size, the route running ability. He is probably the best route runner in this class. It's just the injury history that can concern you. But you know what? As of right now, the Bears just need to go out and get someone for Justin Fields to throw to. So I like George Pickens a lot here at number 31. To be that number 1 wide receiver for Justin Fields. And then once again, I think that you could argue that Detroit might take a quarterback at the back end of the first round. You could also argue that Detroit might take a quarterback at the second overall pick. I think that not only since they have the 34th pick, which is 2 picks after this, I think that if they wanted to wait and take a quarterback, they can, because obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to take a quarterback. And I really don't see anyone else trading up to take a quarterback to leapfrog the Detroit Lions. So I think that they feel safe enough to trade back and acquire some picks. And for me, that's the Indianapolis Colts that are going to trade up and get number 32. So with the Colts sitting at 32, they have a couple options here. They could go with a cornerback. They can go with some linebacking depth, but I think that they're going to go wide receiver. Besides for Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell is basically unproven, and T.Y. Hilton does not look likely to come back. And even if he does, he's on the wrong side of 30. So I think you get out and get a player just like T.Y. Hilton. So if you look here, you have Sky Moore and you have Jahan Dotson. I like Jahan Dotson a lot. Not only is he a similar build to T.Y. Hilton, he is fast like T.Y. Hilton is as well. I believe Jahan Dotson ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. He is one of the most uncoverable guys in this draft. He's very slippery. He's a good route runner, and he creates a lot of separation. And I think that Matt Ryan, in the twilight of his career, coming in to possibly make a Super Bowl run with the Indianapolis Colts, needs another guy to throw to other than Michael Pittman. And he's basically the opposite of Michael Pittman. He's more of a big guy who could catch the ball downfield and be a possession receiver. And Dotson is a down-the-field deep threat with some speed. So I like Dotson a lot. I like the fit. Yeah, so there you have it. There is my first round mock draft with trades. I like to think that this is pretty good. That's just me. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please please leave a comment, please share, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't for draft coverage for all 32 teams up until and then beyond the 2022 NFL Draft. Thank you guys so much for watching today. You have a great day. Thank you.